Welcome to another edition of ParkTalk Podcast, the official podcast of the Naperville Park District.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the ParkTalk Podcast. I am your host, Danny Ream. Public open space and parks with playgrounds, as well as many different types of amenities, are the cornerstone of the Naperville Park District. Since becoming an independent local government agency in 1966, staff and board have worked hard to provide residents with 140 high-quality parks they can enjoy year-round. For this special National Park and Recreation Month episode of the ParkTalk Podcast, I am joined by Park District project managers Peggy Motta and Jessica Burgdorf as we peek behind the scenes to better understand how the parks we love are made. Peggy and Jessica, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you.
Of course. All right, so you both are project managers in the planning department. Can you help explain your roles, particularly in developing our parks and playgrounds, and also how or what you do has direct benefit to community members?
Sure. So we handle capital improvement projects, or in other words, like renovations of amenities within our park system, basically anything that you see as you enter a park. Mm-hmm. So this can range from playgrounds, courts, fields, parking lots even, also native areas, ponds, trails, things like that.
Mm-hmm. So we're responsible for beginning to end of the project. So we start with the evaluation of the site, what needs to be there, and then we work on the design. And if there are any consultants that we need to bring in, a civil engineer or an architect, we bring them in as well. And we work with them to get the design complete. And then we go through permitting if we need to with the county or the city. And then we do construction drawings, we bid the project, and we get the contractor on board, and then we manage the project's construction all the way to the end. So we get to start at the very beginning all the way to the very end. Yes. And see the entire process.
So literally anything that is Park District property that needs work or improvement, that falls to your team.
Correct.
If it's a capital project.
Right.
Yeah.
If it's a capital project.
That, yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, and speaking of capital projects,
right.
Every year the Park District commits to working on a wide variety of capital projects. So what is considered a capital project, and how does the Park District then determine which projects to undertake?
Mm-hmm. So there are a few specific criteria. The first being the monetary value. Mm-hmm. So it has to be at least $10,000.
Okay.
To be added to our capital plan. So that's like a 10-year plan that they review every year. Projects can be shifted forward or back, or you might have something new added, unforeseen. Mm-hmm. But it does help us get a picture of what we're going to be spending over the next 10 years. So like a substantial cost of $10,000 would be added to that plan. It also has to have a life cycle of 3 years. So it can't be anything temporary. Like it's a permanent asset that we're, using our tax dollars to improve amenities here. So it's, again, kind of to summarize, like a repair or replacement of amenities.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Let's see.
And we get projects in two different ways. So Jessica mentioned we have a 10-year plan, and that's based on life cycle. Like a typical playground has a 15-year life cycle. Mm. So every 15 years, that playground will come up on our plan. Mm-hmm. But our staff evaluates it. It's not automatic, so our staff will evaluate the different amenities that we have in our park system and determine if, that does need to be replaced or that doesn't need to be replaced. Mm-hmm. And we get a lot of questions from residents about, that playground looks fine. Mm-hmm. And something that they don't maybe understand is our staff maintains those playgrounds, and at a certain point, there's more maintenance required to keep it functional than it's worth. Yeah. And so even though the park looks fine, it might be costing us a lot more money. And so then we need to go in and replace that.
Yeah. We also have to just keep in mind with the amenities like that, like tennis courts or playgrounds, things that you have a large quantity of, just trying to be more mindful of not waiting until the last second,
Right.
because then you're going to have to renovate them all at the same time.
And we also take community requests. So that's another thing that it sometimes falls on us maybe last minute or in the middle of a year is a strong movement towards, hey, we need more trails here.
Oh,
We
interesting.
need something. So we do take input from the community as well.
Yeah.
And sometimes those projects fall on our plate.
And then one other thing we wanted to mention is like a new housing development.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
If that's built or approved, then that will prompt a new park or facility based on just the ordinance for land acquisitions.
Yeah, we'll definitely touch on that
Yes.
later on. So improving parks is a very detailed process that involves support and participation from residents, as well as outside manufacturers, vendors, and contractors. It's a very detailed process. Like you said, you work from the very beginning to the very end. Can you just summarize the park improvement process?
Sure. So good timing with this episode because
Yeah.
it's essentially what we're starting on right now for all the projects next year. So it all comes about 1 year before. We start with a letter, and we mail that to residents that are in the vicinity of the parks. We also do and with that letter we are requesting just what is your general feedback on the park. So this helps us take into account what we want to budget for renovations. Then once that is finalized, which we typically do in the fall, we want to make sure all the numbers are set for next year. Once that is done, then we can move on to the design and permitting, like Peggy mentioned, to get all the construction documents going.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a summary. So what happens is when projects come up on our 15-year plan and we've evaluated them and determined, yes, this needs to be renovated, this work needs to be done, then it comes down to, as Jessica mentioned, gathering community input, but we gather it from, we focus on the residents that are immediately adjacent to that
Right.
amenity, whether it's a baseball field or a playground or a pond renovation. We send out the notifications to those people that are adjacent because it will impact their life more than others.
Exactly. They're
Right.
more likely to use it than,
Correct.
Right.
say, someone from the other side of Naperville.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And then we start our process of we gather the input, we let it sway us one way or another, depending on what the requests are, and incorporate that into our designs before we go through the bidding process, and which that doesn't, the bidding and the actual construction won't happen till the
following
next
year.
year, the following year. So, and then we work with the contractor and work our way through the project to make sure it's completed in a on time, in budget, and successful.
That's what we like to hear.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, it's very interesting to hear that, like you said, Jessica, projects for next year are starting now, a year in advance. So it's the timeline's very, I guess, not sensitive. The timeline is very structured for the park district each year. So it's really interesting. I know I was kind of surprised to hear that it started that early.
Yeah. So I think part of doing that a year in advance can get requests that might add cost to your project. You want to make sure that's included in the budget.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
we've had, not substantial changes, but things that, you want to be able to get your input, especially like with playgrounds, you want to get your input before I start designing.
Absolutely.
Well, and in even some projects, you can say we gather community input, and in the past, we're like, oh, we totally missed something. Because we often aren't out in the parks every day in every one of our 140 parks, so we can miss things. So that's why we ask for community input. And we've had instances where it's delayed a project for more than a year. So it gets pushed out to the next year or the next year, depending on budget or what
Right.
we found.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Interesting. All
It's
right.
always interesting.
Yeah, always a good time. Peggy, I'm going to direct this question directly to you. In addition to working on playground developments, you also focus on other park improvement aspects like pond dredging and shoreline restoration. So why are these projects just as important to our parks and community as updating playground equipment and site furnishings like we've talked about?
People consider these ponds where you can fish or just enjoy the view, but they're actually stormwater retention facilities that are tied into a citywide stormwater system. So they're very important. The health of these ponds are very important, not only to look at and for habitat for fish and insects, but for flooding. Because you see them all over town, and they're put in specific areas, and they're there to gather and hold stormwater so it doesn't flood throughout Naperville. So part of what I've been tasked with is making sure these ponds are healthy and are maintained in a way that the stormwater system continues to function properly. So they're as important as the pipes that go under roads, the culverts, the inlets. It's all part of the stormwater system. And the Park District actually maintains the pond aspect of that system. Over time, what has happened is these ponds have started to erode. The shorelines, like the soil from the shorelines, end up in the pond. And what that does, it reduces the capacity of that pond. So in other words, it can't hold as much stormwater. So we need to get in there and remove that silt that has collected in the bottom of the ponds so that the stormwater capacity is restored. And as we're doing that, what we do is we try to secure the shoreline of the pond so it doesn't happen again. So we plant a lot of native plants with very long roots to secure the shoreline and then to ultimately secure the health of that stormwater pond. So it is very important that we spend time and energy and funds on maintaining these ponds.
Yeah, and one project that comes to mind right away that I'm sure a lot of residents have seen is the shoreline restoration on the Riverwalk, a little further west on the DuPage River. And I feel like the river is so unique because when there is a lot of storm water and the river rises and rushes really fast, I feel like, erosion can happen much quicker. And the Riverwalk is so important to residents, so we always want to make sure that it is kept up to date and up to date. Stabilized, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We actually got help with that from DuPage County because everyone realizes how important that amenity is to Naperville and DuPage County and visitors and whoever comes. We need to stabilize that shoreline along that river to keep downtown Naperville beautiful.
Definitely.
It's important.
Yeah. Jessica, we've talked a lot about community involvement and reaching out to residents. It is a crucial part of the playground design process. So how does the district engage with residents during the park improvement process, and how does their feedback impact the final design?
Okay, that's a very loaded question.
Yeah, I know.
But I would say it back to our earlier question where we talked about all of the capital projects that we do. It does start at that point where it's about a year in advance and we're sending out the letters. I do have help from our marketing team creating signs that we keep at the park all the way through the renovation, so anyone who comes by can click the QR code and go to the website, which will give you updates on the current schedule for that, or at least you'd be aware that a renovation is coming. So once we send out that those notifications, from there, like the main thing I'm looking for as far as the feedback is just what do you like about the park now, or are there things that you don't like? That's this is my best opportunity to try to, if you are lacking shade there, or if you need more of a buffer from from something that's adjacent, or even play equipment. Sometimes people want to try out different types of swings, or they're looking for something more like rope climbing. We try to give, a broad 2 to 12-year age range for all of them. So I unfortunately can't make, certain requests like going all to one age group versus one. But there are ways to try to get more, specific requests involved. So once I get that feedback, I have a, select list of vendors that I work with, and I am able to send all of that information to them. And so they have really all the data of anything that has been requested, and they create proposals for me. The most helpful part of it is the rendering. They have a lot of cool software that they use to show you what it would look like. A lot of different views they can do. Even like they'll post links to videos of kids playing on these, newer things. So that's really helpful. Once I have all those proposals, I create a survey, and anyone that has communicated to me that they want to be involved in helping pick out the new equipment, they can be emailed that survey, and then that ultimately helps us decide which one we're going to select. So, pretty more like you can't get more direct involvement.
Yeah, I'm sure residents really appreciate that, because it's their opportunity to directly affect not just their neighborhood, like their street, their subdivision,
right, gathering place.
Yeah,
right. So it's fun to see things that people told me that they wanted to see, and then you can put that in for them. There's a lot of cases where that can happen.
Yeah, and a lot of our recent park renovations and playground openings have looked amazing, and I'm sure residents really appreciate that.
Some upgrades. Always wanted to be an upgrade.
Oh, of course. And actually, speaking on new playground openings and renovations, recently the Park District added 2 new neighborhood parks, Polo Club Park and Fairlane Farms Park, to the park system. And Peggy, you are overseeing these developments. So what are some features that will make these parks unique and exciting to residents in the area?
Well, it will be a wonderful playground, I promise. So these new parks were developed because of the new neighborhood being annexed into Naperville, and there'll be a lot of residents out there. I'm already getting emails from people like, when's this playground going to be in? When's it going to be in? So the one park will be a neighborhood playground where it will have the playground, shade structures, benches. We're even throwing in some native vegetation and some mounds for kids to play and run on. And that will be in the center of the development. And then on the far east side of the development will be 2 big multi-purpose fields with 2 parking lots. So that will be where we'll have more organized play. So there'll be soccer games and, flag football or whatever the recreation department decides to use there. So
yeah, and I've driven past the Polo Club subdivision a lot, and it's definitely growing into
it's huge.
It's a big development and big neighborhood that's being put up there. So I think the new residents that move in are going to be really happy with our parks.
Definitely. They're already excited. So it's a nice addition, I think.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Good.
Well, it's interesting to learn how our parks are designed and built. These outdoor facilities, they continue to enrich the community by providing residents with local public space to congregate, play, and enjoy nature, particularly during July's National Parks and Recreation Month, which we always love to see people enjoying our parks during the summer. Peggy and Jessica, thank you both again so much for joining me on this episode of the ParkTalk Podcast.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course. If you're looking for more content, you can find all our podcast episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, or at napervillepparks.org/podcast. Full-length video episodes can now be found on the Naperville Park District YouTube page. As always, be sure to stay up to date on everything going on with the Naperville Park District by following us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or by visiting our website at napervillepparks.org.
Thank you for listening. The Naperville Park District's mission is to provide park and recreation experiences that promote healthy lives, healthy minds, and a healthy community. ParkTalk Podcast is a production of the Naperville Park District.